Welcome to the Leadership and Yoga podcast hosted by me, Shawna Krueger. And on this podcast, I'll be bringing you interviews with exceptional leaders in the yoga world alongside trainings and tips so you can experience true breakthroughs and help others do the same. Leadership and yoga, welcome into an episode on how to host a yoga retreat. And today I'm here with my best friend, Katie. And Katie and I have hosted 3 yoga retreats together. She is also the co-mother of our brainchild, the Ritual of Writing Journal, which you'll see and hear about as well today. And I believe this is your 3rd time on the podcast, so you really don't need any introduction. But for those of you that are tuning in and don't know as much about Katie, can you tell us something about yourself?
Yes, I can. It's nice to be back. And Katie, I am a yoga teacher. I wrote the Ritual of Writing Journal with Shawna, which I'm just so excited to see it take off and walk on its own. Our little brainchild. And I co-host retreats with Shawna. And I also am the editorial manager for Alo Moves. So I teach yoga, I write about yoga, and I'm just really passionate about words and their power and inclusive language and how it shows up when you're teaching as well as out in daily life.
Yes, she's extremely talented. I'm super lucky. I feel like we work really well together. And I get that question all the time, actually, is like, how does that work in your guys' relationship? But I feel like we balance each other out because I'm always kind of the one that's like raring to go and the action, like, let's just do it and make it happen. And you're the one that's like, let's take a step back. Let's pause. Yes. Let's have a moment before we decide. So it's a really beautiful partnership for that reason. And if you're tuning in today, we're really speaking to the dreamers today. So even if you're not necessarily a yoga teacher yet, maybe you're thinking about it, or maybe you're not thinking about it, but you have another big dream project, everything that we talk about today is going to be extremely symbolic of really launching a dream project and making it happen. And the timing of this podcast is really special because we actually just got back from hosting our 3rd retreat, and the way that the timing and the dates fell, we actually hosted 3 retreats in 1 year.
Oh my gosh.
Which is crazy.
It's been a wild year.
So we really hit the ground running. We're not coming at this saying we have 10 years of experience, but we're showing you that rapid transformation is possible. Our last retreat was sold out. It was a group of 20 of us, incredibly dynamic and powerful experience. But we're not going to get into a full-on recap. You'll hear a little bit about that retreat, but what you'll hear about today is really 3 different parts that we think are super essential when going to plan your retreat, which is starting with the programming and the planning portion, and then the selling portion, and then the execution portion. So that's kind of what we're going to move through today if you are tuning in. And when it comes to the planning and the programming, the part that makes the most sense when we were discussing what we wanted to start with is really, why do all of this in the first place? Because hosting a retreat is incredibly rewarding, but it is no joke.
It is a lot of work.
It is so much
lot of work and planning and love, but so much labor.
So much labor. It's definitely a marathon sort of thing. It's you're in it for the long haul and to keep evolving as you go. So we're just sitting down to kind of ask ourselves, okay, why is it that both of us are doing this? I think we have similar reasons, but we also have different reasons. And I know that mine personally is that I feel that I'm here to essentially help people feel inspired to look into their inner question and to understand their true nature more deeply, on a deeper level. And I know that sounds kind of high in the sky, but I really believe that we all have these things that we kind of wonder about our life. We all have these whispers. We have these questions about what's possible for us. And for me, the retreat is a space to have a break from daily life and to actually get to that kind of work and to feel true inspiration. So that's kind of mine. But what is yours, Katie?
I love that. I agree with everything you said. And as I am an extrovert, so I do love the element of getting to connect with people and make new friends. But beyond that too, I also think about the reason why I became a yoga teacher. And for me, that element of my life is so deeply tied to service. I love being able to provide a safe and comfortable space for people to grow or to just feel good, to do whatever. And you find a lot of those feelings in a yoga class, but a retreat experience is like that times 100. It is a lot of growth and connection and transformation within a short time frame. But I just love hearing about all of the students afterwards and what they do after the retreat. I know so many people who have found a new job or changed their careers or have gone on to do some pretty brave and bold things. And they say that the retreat was an opportunity for them to actually plant that seed and to think about what it's like to take action on that, or just even just to relax and give themselves the space to process a change like that. And it's just so cool to be able to provide that for people.
Yeah, I think that something that we're super aligned on is that we like to spark something in people. And that's kind of one of the first key things in deciding what your retreat is going to be, is what makes it unique. What are you really trying to bring for people? And is it more of just a travel and a friend's trip with a splash of yoga, which is fine. I know a lot of people who enjoy that, but what we look to do is get really clear on a particular message or kind of an experience that we want to take people through. And it's definitely not like you can promise people any sort of transformation, but I do think that we work with a lot of people who are trying to take a particular action or trying to step into a way of being or a major change in their lives. And people end up really connecting over that. So I think that getting clear on your message is an essential first step, because a lot of times we feel like we're not ready to lead a retreat. And what we probably are is not clear on what we would do if we were to host a retreat. So how do you feel like we were able to get a little bit more clarity on the messaging and the programming that we've done in our retreats? Because each one has been different too, by the way.
I love that we have different themes for our retreats. And I think that also speaks to what sparks interest in us. I feel like for so many of these retreats, it was, oh my gosh, that's it. There were so many moments of that's it, that's the theme. Like it found us. We didn't sit down and have an intense brainstorming session. We really just followed our own curiosity. And I think that when you follow those sparks, it can often point towards the actual core of what you want to do or what you want to provide. And of course, brainstorming sessions are important, but if you are deeply interested in something, there's such a big chance that other people are interested in the same thing as well.
This is true. I feel like you start to see the themes too that we would within after our first retreat. We saw that a lot of people had a particular interest in confidence or had a particular interest in creativity, and then we've been able to bring those themes in. But I am a big believer that creativity kind of bubbles up when you sit, and maybe the objective is not even brainstorming, but this happens to us a lot on the plane on the way home, because you're met with silence finally after having this week of energy and interaction with people. And then we get so many creative downloads or whatever you want to call them, and so many ideas. And beforehand, we may have been unsure if we were going to host another retreat. And then here we are already launching.
Yeah, like we can't not act on that idea. Like this has to go somewhere.
Yes. So that, the programming of it is super key. And more than just knowing your why for the moment, I think also knowing your why for the long term is key, because getting into retreats, you have to invest up front, right? Especially when you don't have much proof of concept or anything like that, which we'll talk about later when we talk about selling. But if you're going to get into this and actually follow through with it and support a group of people, usually, at least for me, I had a deeper reason behind wanting to do it. And for me, that was a conversation that I had with my sister-in-law, Andrea, actually, which I know I've told you about this before, but we were sitting around talking about yoga. And so some of you may know this or may not, but my husband is from Venezuela. And so I have a lot of family living in Venezuela. He's actually there right now as I'm recording this. It's his first time back in 7 years, which is crazy. But I was talking to my sister-in-law about yoga, and she said, this is all great and sounds fun, but I don't feel like yoga is for people like me, like when would I do yoga? I don't have time for that. There's no accessibility of that here in Latin America. And when she said it, I knew, right? Like, you know that there's unequal access to things like yoga and wellness, but I just so badly wanted to eventually have the opportunity for locals to be invited to practice and to still bring people from the US to Latin America, because I know that experience really changed my life and shifted me. And so that's really where the idea of the scholarship came from. If you follow with my retreats or my podcast, you'll know that that's something that I have done from the moment that it was feasible. And that was kind of one of my other big whys, was enabling, people to connect and cross paths that wouldn't normally do so, and to do that through yoga.
Yeah, I also love, we have group chats for a lot of our retreat groups, and you can see people are still making plans, and they really came away from these events with friends, and it's the effects, it's just a ripple effect beyond even the retreat experience. It really is life-changing.
Yeah, I saw somebody posted a photo the other day from our last retreat group and said that the friends that you make on a retreat are the best souvenir, and I thought that was really sweet.
I love that.
I thought it was sweet. But the other thing, in programming and planning that is absolutely essential, and I feel like we could say this, and it sounds very obvious, but until you experience it, when it may not be exactly what you're looking for in terms of place, you won't know. And so I feel very lucky that both times that we've hosted, so we've hosted twice at Rio Chiripo and once at Amor de Mar, both in Costa Rica, and we had both been to those places before. And I know that might not be possible in all cases, but I would recommend being super selective and really making sure that before you choose a place, that it makes sense for the experience that you want to provide.
Yeah, there's both of those places. I feel like there's so much magic there that magic almost speaks for itself, and then it does so much legwork for you.
Yes.
And there's different types of retreats too. Like there's maybe the center is not so much set up for that experience yet, but you could help create or carve out that type of experience there.
Yeah.
And some places they've been doing retreats for years, and you're able to tap into that network of people who could help assist you in that journey. So yeah, I mean, the place you choose is so important.
It is. But I think too, and this is why getting clear on the messaging around what kind of experience you want people to have can help you choose a place as well. Or the place could influence your messaging as well. I guess you could do it that way. But to not undervalue those sort of subtle elements of the experience that you're putting together, because all of that adds up to the energetic feeling that somebody gets when they look at the experience that you have to essentially offer to them. I know that we talked about not promising outcomes. It's like you can't promise that you'll leave our retreat feeling 10 times more confident and 10 times more creative. But when you do offer things and you put things in your programming, another principle that I think we've really stuck to or tried to stick with is under promise and over perform. And so like add in bonuses when you can, surprise and delight, as cheesy as that sounds.
It really makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Like some of the things that you do, like Shawna personally handwrites a note for every retreat participant. Is customized to them. And I've just heard from so many people that was the perfect way to enter this experience. And so often just, the flight there, travel is a whole other thing. But then when you step into that place, that beautiful place that represents the energy of what you want for your retreat, you're immersed. And then to receive something so personal is such a beautiful thing. And people remember that.
They do. Yeah. And again, I feel like it's trying to do the things that go a little bit above and beyond. It doesn't mean you need to break the bank. We don't do any sort of like goodie bags necessarily. We put like a flower. We sometimes do different things in collaboration, but yeah, the small like, special touches. I always like people to walk away feeling like that was more than what I expected, which is hard because when we get to talking about selling, of course, you want to you want to make your experience sound as cool because you know that it's going to be cool, as cool as possible. But if you can find any way to sort of go above and beyond that, I think that's really, really nice. This is a lot of the nitty gritty stuff, but I also think right away the mention of expenses and planning the financial side of the retreat cannot be understated
Oh
because
my gosh.
it is a lot to consider. And your biggest task is being like a detective looking for expenses. Because I feel like a lot of
Where's
times,
the money?
where am I gonna be out money that I didn't realize I was gonna be out money? Travel always does that to you. So just imagine that, but travel for 20 people. I'm gonna tell you kind of the sneaky ones off the top of my head because this last retreat actually at Rio, so the third time I got it right entirely, that was when I felt like I had mapped finally every expense and I didn't have any sort of like last minute surprise. But the sneaky ones that were later that, took me 2 retreats to figure out was number one, like the fee on the payment processing, because you think it's a small amount and then, you start collecting thousands and thousands of dollars. And not all of that is for you, so you don't worry too much about it because you're paying the retreat center and the food and all this other stuff. But when you look at how much that small percentage cuts into the actual amount of cash that you're taking in, it was crazy. I honestly couldn't believe that I didn't think about it, and the same goes with staff. The bigger your group is, the more expensive the stay in the retreat center is and the bigger percentage that you're going to pay on that. I think also shuttle and all of these expenses that vary.
Even travel related things too, like before you even get there, like the food on the flight and just all of the outside things.
Yeah.
It definitely needs to be taken into account.
Yeah. And so getting a good picture at all of that and then doing some sort of like conditional work. Okay, what would I need to break even? And then add like $2,000 of cushion for yourself, I would say. Because on your first retreat, it's not like you're trying to strike it rich. It's definitely gathering proof of concept. It's seeing if this is something that I want to do.
Yeah, your information gathering.
Yes.
And it is like, it's an event. It's the same thing for like a home renovation or a wedding. You need that padding of expenses because this is my retreat motto, but just weird things happen. And they're good weird things, sometimes bad weird things, but like weird things happen all the time. And you just always want to be flexible and prepared for when weird things do happen.
Yes. More on weird things later. So stay tuned.
We got lots of weird things.
We have a lot of weird things. This is kind of like getting the groundwork set. But the other final thing that ties into the finance side of things is that advocate for what you want and what you need. So run your numbers. Don't be afraid of the numbers. Like look at them and actually see, because you'll see that actually you don't need as many people as you think. I know for our first retreat, we needed actually 6 attendees. That's all we needed. We ended up having 13, which was a blessing. And I feel like your first retreat, inevitably, there's a lot of friend of friends and like old roommates and people who will come through for you that, bless those people.
Yes,
forever
and
thankful.
great people to get feedback from, like real honest feedback. So we love homegrown retreats.
We do. But once you look at those numbers, even if you're saying, okay, well, I could never charge that much or I could never find that number of people, then ask the retreat center or ask the hotel, tell them like, this is the price I would need to make this happen, and see what they say. Because I've done that a number of different times in different ways. And one of the key examples that people always ask me about is, how do we give away a spot for free? Because we run a worldwide giveaway and we give away one spot for free to an Instagram rando. And we also do the scholarship, which is something different. But what I did with the giveaway is that I just asked the retreat center if they would be interested in a collab and explain the idea and how I would do it on Instagram and all this different stuff and what I think that, the value they would get out of it, the value we would get out of it. And they were like, sure. nobody has ever asked us
Yeah,
before.
they're very down.
But they were open to it. And I think that's crazy because they've been having retreats there for over a decade and nobody has asked, you know?
Don't leave things on the table.
Yeah.
Sometimes you create the possibilities.
You do. Yeah. And so after that, I came back to them and said, hey, look, I'm going to give a scholarship to locals and I want it to be partial and, you know, it's going to be a super subsidized rate. And they said, this is a great idea. We have also never had anybody do this or think about doing this. So we're going to cover that remaining portion and the locals, they can come for free entirely. So, which is really beautiful and heartwarming and reminds you also abundance mindset too, you know, be willing to, you know, if we wouldn't have been willing to factor in the couple extra $100 to send locals for free, they never would have offered to match, you know, and pay that remaining portion. So cool things can happen, I think, when you step up and see how you can work it out, even if it feels like a bit of a sacrifice.
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing too on the retreat center is relationship building. And if you're, I don't know, in the corporate world, my background is in law. I worked as kind of like an executive assistant role in law. And I thought when I got into the yoga world that it would be entirely different. And what I ran into was actually much of the same. It is a lot of people that you're meeting and who you end up working with is really based on who you have around and who you have, who you're exposed to, what different ideas that you're exposed to. And one of the most beautiful things for me in working with Rio Chiripo, which people don't really understand, why are you doing 3 retreats in the same place? You know, why not change it up, make it a little bit more exotic? And for us, it's because it's about the messaging, right? We know that Rio brings this high vibration, sort of fresh, clear mountain air. People feel inspired when they're there and we trust them and that works. And we will keep coming back for that reason because it's about more than, you know, we don't view ourselves as like a travel agency by any means. But something that's really cool in this world when you start building and you start creating retreats is definitely that you run into other really aligned and like-minded people. I mean, I found that in you since the day that I moved into your old apartment, which is a fun story. If you don't know, the story's in the journal, but basically I moved into Katie's exact unit, like the same unit number. And that's how we ended up initially becoming friends after I took her yoga class.
The magic of the place.
The magic of the
Felt
place.
the magic of the place. I followed the spark. And now we're here.
And now we're here. Who would have known, actually, though? That's crazy.
I know. It's when you said earlier that we hosted 3 retreats last year, I was just like, how?
I don't know.
Or in this past year, the past 12 months, I guess.
Yeah.
That is wild. And so much can happen in such a short amount of time. It's just, sometimes these things, they feel like long-term goals. One day I'll host a retreat. If you're thinking about hosting a retreat, this could very well be happening in a shorter amount of time than you think.
Yes.
Because we were in the same exact boat and then it just happened. I mean, a lot of work took to make it happen, but we definitely understand that feeling of what it's like to have nothing in front of you and then turn it into something bigger than you've ever imagined. And even though it feels like it could be light years away, so much of it is just taking that first step.
It is.
And even putting your ideas to paper.
Yes, it is. And it feels so unfamiliar at first. And that's how I actually felt with the manager of Rio Chiripo. I remember our first call. His name is Marco. He's great. So shout out to Marco.
Shout out to Marco. We love you.
We love you. But in even saying that, like, I would never say I love Marco in our first call because we don't even know him. But then along the way, you figure out, okay, here's this person who is super aligned, who really, really adds to the experience. We're on the same page on so many different things. And to give you an example of kind of like the synchronicity and the level of which we're on the same page, when I posted my retreat recap reel from our last retreat, I used this song that's called Hasta la Raíz, which means to the root. And I knew that I was going to use this song because it had reminded me of Rio Chiripo. It had just spoken to me and made me think of the experience and actually like made me feel emotional, you know? And so I used that song, and I even put the English translation of the song, of the lyrics in the caption, which I've never done before. But I was like, I want people to know what the song is saying because it really resonates. And then I get a text immediately from Marco, from the manager of Rio Chiripo, and he says, "You're never going to believe this, but the song that you just put on your reel, that was one of the songs that I listened to for inspiration when I was creating the Rio Chiripo brand and when I was thinking about how I wanted people to feel." And it just gave me chills.
Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Yeah.
Synchronicity is also another great example of someone following that spark and that inspiration and taking something from nothing to now something amazing.
It really is. He did the same exact thing, but on the other end. And it felt like, so you never know like who's out there that would love for you to teach and to bring a group, and they're creating something on the other end. And it's really, really interesting how when you do things from passion, you know, your passion projects, you end up kind of meeting the right people at the right time, and things really end up working out better than you thought that they would. Truly. Truly. I think that that's kind of it in terms of programming and the planning side, unless you had something else that you wanted to add there before we talk about selling.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely structural things to consider with your itinerary, of course.
Yeah.
But I think just making sure that you're having that brainstorm session, following the spark of curiosity, also taking a look at what else is out there. You don't have to go on 8 other retreats to get a sense of what's happening. A lot of people put their itineraries online or different. Let's say you're considering a retreat in Italy or Costa Rica or Mexico or somewhere else. You can search Mexico yoga retreat. Look at what other people are doing. Take what you like, and then think about how you can put your own unique spin on it. And if you've been thinking a lot about who you are as a yoga teacher and what is your unique offering, what is special about what you bring to the table, definitely infuse that into the itinerary. Like, I also teach yoga nidra, so I know that when I go to a retreat, that is something that I definitely want to include so that people are able to experience that for themselves. And it's the same thing with our journaling. And I just have seen very few retreats that incorporate yoga and journaling in balance like that. Or intentionally. So we definitely wanted to include a lot of that element, and it's just what adds to the experience.
Exactly. And that's kind of my first point, I would say, on selling. And I know that we also agree about this, is creating an experience that you are super excited to share and doing your best to package it in a way. And I will tell you that our first retreat was definitely not even up on a website. It was a PDF packet. We still do PDF packets to this day. It's now on a website as well, but
throwback.
But really, I did my best with that PDF. I made it beautiful, and I was really proud of it.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
And I couldn't wait. You know, I wanted to get people's eyes on it. You know, I think that's the number one thing that helps, is trying to get it to a place where you feel proud of it and you feel excited about sharing it. That is what I found to be the most helpful, because then it's not about selling or if people say yes or no. It's like, how many people can I get to look at this and get excited about this thing that I'm really excited about?
And also a great lesson in not letting there be a barrier to the first step, because you didn't have to have this fancy, expensive website or booking system or anything like that. If you have access to word processing or Canva or other Photoshop, other similar programs, or free versions of those programs. I mean, even a Word doc.
I built it on Canva.
And a social even a social post, a savable social post. Just getting it out there and taking the first step is so important. So don't let that stop you. There's so many great free tools out there.
Exactly. And the other key one is photos. And this is a really interesting one, because this is something that I think you get from doing your first retreat is then proof of concept in the form of photos. We didn't have those for our first retreat. And so really what I did was got photos of myself teaching classes in the park, assisting people on the beach, and then photoshopping and like using what I could. We did use headshots that we had taken, but you're not going to have photos, the ideal photo of you in the shala with the trees and the sun behind it and all your students smiling, instilling the hope and the belief that, okay, this thing is really going to happen. So definitely invest in photos your first retreat.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Also, in the beginning, if you don't have access to those photos, also another great chance to talk to the retreat center and see what they have available, because maybe they would let you use some of their location and environmental photos and with photo credit or wherever.
Exactly.
So they might have the photos for you.
Yeah. And I mean, I've also negotiated in a trip actually down to the retreat center to see and to take that content firsthand, because that's something that I really enjoy. I believe in part of the selling strategy for sure is stories and giving people and like delivering them the experience and the small magic moments from your perspective and your point of view. Because at the end of the day, what a retreat really is living life from your point of view for a few days, and getting to learn from you and having people kind of share your energy. So yeah, I mean, there's ways to definitely get around it, but the answer is definitely not no photos. You want to have it in some way or some form, but you can get creative. I'd also say that the other thing that's really helped us sell the retreats is teaching in person. And both of us do that. I mean, how many classes do you teach a week?
I only teach a couple and then some workshops throughout the month.
But you work full time too,
yes.
Which is cool. So I'm down, like I had 7 classes in person for a while and I have 4 now only. So, and for me, it's like already a lot. So I don't know how you do it, because I know you teach multiple times a week. But
and also, you might be surprised who is interested in coming to the retreats within your own network. You might think, oh, they don't do yoga or they don't this or that. But we've definitely had people who didn't have a very extensive yoga background, but they still had that seed of curiosity. And you never know if you don't reach out. So don't be afraid to take that step. And maybe this is the thing that they didn't know they were looking for.
Yes. I think that sometimes there's a tendency to feel like you don't want to reach out and invite people because you don't want them to feel obligated, or you might just feel like, no, I'm too proud. Like I want people to come to me. I don't want to have to go out there and invite them. And I've played around with it. There's definitely a delicate balance, but sometimes people need to be invited in to know that you're talking to them. And I will say that too at the end of classes when I'm promoting a retreat, which most studios will let you do. Sometimes they won't, in which case this isn't an option. It'll be more in sort of one-off conversations with students. But saying you are all invited and like scanning the room, and looking at people, say like all of you are invited if you would like to do this thing, because otherwise they think, oh, they're just talking to so-and-so who's always in their class every day. I'm not good enough, or I'm not dedicated of a student enough in order to be invited. So inviting people in, I think you're right there. That's another key for sure.
Yes. And as someone who works in the advertising world, you need to hear the message multiple times in order for it to land. Some people are like, I see it once, sign me up. Other people, again, they need that seed. They need the thought of the idea. They need some time to work it out, but continually show people that you care and that you would love to see them there.
Yeah. And you're also going to be honing your craft, because getting comfortable teaching in person is no joke. And if you feel afraid, you picture yourself in the shala with say you did have a group of 20 in your first retreat and it was totally full, and then that thought makes you really scared and really afraid. It's definitely normal to feel the adrenaline, but trusting in, okay, I've done this before. You know, I could teach a class in my sleep if I had to, because that's how much I've taught. That I think is another thing, that you don't want to be sort of like secretly sabotaging your success because of a fear of the teaching portion.
Yes. Know that you are capable.
Yeah.
First things first, even before you do the logistical retreat things, know that you are capable of doing this.
And also know that people are there for the way that you're being. You know, it's not about, oh, I have to know all the Sanskrit names and I have to be with the best practice and the, you know, coolest teacher ever. No, I mean, people are going to sign up because, in a way, I know it sounds weird, but I've heard it before described like renting your energy, you know, because we do level up when we're able to be around people who are places that we want to go. And so that's why I see a lot of other, you know, fellow yoga instructors coming around too and taking the retreats, because it's something that they want to do eventually. So why not? I do the same thing. If I think about what I sign up for and who I pay to essentially learn from them and spend time, it's people that are being a way that I want to be, or who are, you know, in a place that I aspire to be someday. For sure.
There's so much that we can learn from other people. We're forever students always.
Yes.
So
yeah, we really are. And I think that takes some of the pressure off of it too, because knowing that just how you are is enough, because you are always leading people. You are always teaching people, even if that's children around you. I mean, children are the perfect example. But us too, you know, like I call you my forever teacher for sure. I mean, you have more experience than me too. But we have very different kinds of practices, and I teach you about handstands and you teach me about how to be more zen.
Yes, mutually beneficial education.
Yeah, and so not counting people out or not assuming that certain people wouldn't join your retreat because they're older than you, or because they're more experienced than you, or whatever the reason is. You don't know. Don't speak for them. Let them decide for themselves at the end of the day.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're on to execution, which is the part I've been waiting for, because this is where the goods start coming in. Travel, right?
Yes. Back to the weird things happen. So unpredictable nowadays.
I think the best was your laptop in the TSA line to kick us off.
I thought it was your laptop.
It was your laptop.
I think
I had to take mine.
Yeah, it was you. Mine was fine. Okay, so back to energy management, renting your energy, managing your energy. It's so important to approach retreats with a flexible mindset.
Yeah.
And just knowing that things don't always go according to plan, and that's okay, because the thing is going to happen anyway. You're going to go on the retreat. You're going to do yoga. It's going to be great. But we definitely always have a plan in place in case things go awry. So we arrive to the retreat center early, a couple days early, just in case there are any travel-related delays. It's always important that you as the teacher are able to be where you need to be when you need to be there. But in getting there, we often joke about with our past few retreats, like Shawna and I go early to absorb whatever weirdness could possibly happen. I don't know why. There's always been like one little thing that has thrown off our plans, but everybody else has been okay. So we're like absorbing the impact of potential weirdness.
It's insane. I mean, I don't want to like jinx us for the next retreat, so knock on wood, but all of our students arrived on time.
Yes.
With no delays.
It was beautiful.
That's crazy.
Because we absorbed the weird energy. We're arriving to the airport first day. Well, it was like midnight. And the TSA lady, something's going on in her life.
It's my first time being yelled at, like screamed at by a TSA person.
Yeah, well, we walk in and she's talking to this older woman who seemed really sweet, just really confused or maybe hard of hearing. And the TSA person is just like, "Are you listening? I said, put your laptop in the bin and the bag is separate." And I'm like, whoa. And so the lady is just like, I don't know what's going on here. And also we're all a little bit in shock because it's not often that you encounter someone like a neutral stranger who's just so openly rude for no reason. But, I'm used to TSA being direct.
Yeah.
And direct is good because they've got a lot of people
direct
to
and
hustle
annoyed
through.
Is fine.
Yeah,
like,
direct and annoyed is like, I
direct.
said, not pants, pants off, pants off, everybody.
I don't want to go to that
No, shoes off, everybody. No, that kind of direct, that would actually be really weird. But yeah, direct is fine, but this person was just very rude, and she's just looking at Shawna like, did you hear what I said? I'm going to say it again for you. And that is not the ideal way to start a beautiful experience. But after we went through the line, we were thinking about it because it was one of those situations where it's like, should we speak to someone?
She threw your laptop.
Oh, yeah. She threw my laptop in the bin and my electronics, and it's very sensitive equipment. So not ideal, but yeah, it's one of those situations where you're like, should I say something? What should I do? Should I just leave this there? Ultimately, we just decided to leave it there because, one, this is not the time to get ourselves banned from the airport.
Don't want to pick a fight.
Yeah, don't want to pick a fight and have it go wrong. But also just having empathy, too. I mean, whenever I encounter people like that, which is thankfully not often, I just think, what else is going on in their life for them to react that way? Like, how sad. I feel sad that she feels the need to take out her anger like that. But we were able to, we decompressed, we
brushed it off.
Yeah, we brushed it off, got a little food, and we're like, we're good. Other than that, we're good. We're there, ready for our red-eye flight. But there might be different situations you encounter, through travel or whatever, that are just weird little attempts to get you off your game.
I feel like it's all part of the game.
Yeah, but it is. It's all part of the game, and
learning how your body reacts too in that. Because one of the funny things is before even taking off in the plane, I kind of drifted asleep, and I dreamed that we were falling. If you've ever had one of those fear dreams.
Yes.
And I know you saw me because I was like,
and the person next to us was
in front of me. Because I had dreamed that we were falling before we even took off. So, your body does weird things. But I think, that's the thing about on a retreat is that even if you have a ritual before teaching, a lot of times you're just not given the luxury. You are in it, you're immersed. But yeah, so the end of the story there for our travel is that we were on our descent down into San Jose and Costa Rica, and mid-descent, I kind of noticed that something was happening, and anyways, we continued flying.
We were 10 minutes before landing.
Yeah.
In San Jose.
Yeah.
We were right there.
Yeah, and then we kept going. It really took a while. And then they were like, ladies and gentlemen, we have landed in Liberia, which is the other city, which is 4 hours away.
Which is across the country. Well, so the pilot came on, I remember this, and he said, I don't know if you think you had your AirPods and you're meditating or sleeping or something, but he said, ladies and gentlemen, I don't quite know. Something's happening in the air traffic control tower, and we're going to have to divert our flight to Liberia. And I'll have more information for you soon. This is very unprecedented. And we're just like, what?
One,
this
scary.
Is not what you want to
two,
hear.
Inconvenient. But anyways, what had happened, we come to find out, is that a rat had died in the air traffic control tower. And apparently the workers, they just couldn't take it anymore. They're like, you got it, we can't work in this.
You do not want a distracted air traffic controller.
Yeah, you don't want distractions. And so out of all the exotic creatures in Costa Rica, alas, it was a rat.
Think about all of the millions of dollars of damages this one dead rat had caused, diverted all these flights, all these canceled hotels and drink cars. And we texted Natasha, who was our leadership facilitator for this retreat, who was waiting for us at the San Jose airport. And we're like, yeah, so we got diverted to Liberia across the country because a rat died in the air traffic control tower. And she texted, us back like, ha ha ha, you're joking, right?
Not joking.
Yes, weird things happen, but we were prepared and we were
Yeah.
rolling with the punches because we got it. Like, we got it under control.
Yeah.
We just have to remember we are in control.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, we sat for like 2 hours, I think it was, in Liberia, with no updates, and then all of a sudden we came back to San Jose, we landed, and so then, you know, we're probably like, I don't know, 2.5 hours behind schedule, but when we finally made it to Rio after the taxi ride all the way through the mountains, I remember just getting like these full body chills just like coming through the gate and to a place that feels like home, and honestly feels like heartbreak every time I leave. But it felt so good to be there. And of course, we're just so mentally exhausted. And when you're in that state, I think it's funny how our perspective changes, because the one thing in our room, we found these little inchworms. Remember? And
The faceless worms.
yeah, we called them, like, we were so freaked out by them because we had slept like 45 minutes the night before. And so we were looking really close at them and we're like, they're faceless monsters.
They
And
looked like leeches.
We were Googling
like,
what do leeches look like, and freaking out and like trying to carry them outside. And it was this whole ordeal. I was dreaming about them as I was trying to fall asleep. And then the next morning I saw one and I was like, all right, that is not
worm.
scary. That is not
just
scary.
a cute little worm trying to live its life.
But imagine trying to teach when you have that, like when you have that level of exhaustion, right? Like it takes a day to recover from, and your whole teachings and your perspective can really get thrown off when you're at that level of tired, and sort of the anxiousness that can come with the travel, and like you said, the weirdness. So
that's why we build in those days. Don't arrive there and then immediately go to teach a class. You're not perhaps in the right mindset, and you really want their first experience to be impactful, and you just want to make sure that you're in your best state. So
totally. I feel like you're really good at the energy well, you're also an extrovert. Fully. Have you ever done a test? Like, do you know what your percentage is? What percent extrovert?
I don't know. I mean, I've done the Myers-Briggs and I'm still ENFJ.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe because I'm an only child. Well, you're an only child too.
Yeah, we're both only children.
Yeah. I just feel like I had my whole childhood to like play alone in my room. I don't need any more of that. I just feel like life is short. I want to be meeting people and like being somewhere, and that's me. Like I don't think anyone else needs to be like that. Honor your own vibe, but I definitely have to ride the waves of extroversion at these retreats. They really help a lot. But there's a learning for me, and also knowing that I need to carve out a little bit of time every day intentionally, just to make sure that I'm in a calm and balanced state and that I'm delivering on what I intended to deliver.
Totally. Yeah, I think I am technically ENFJ also.
Whoa.
But I must be like, I remember seeing it, and I am not fully extrovert. Like Simone, my husband, he's like 99% extrovert. Mine is much more like a 60-40 sort of situation.
Like ambivert.
Yeah, because I mean, I kind of like miss the time I had to play alone in my room in my quiet time. So for me, I've always been super thankful to see you out mingling and, you know, talking, because of course you want to give everybody attention. And I think group size, that's something to consider for sure. Making sure that, okay, how many conversations that are, you know, to a deep level, that are beyond the superficial, can I realistically have in any given day? Because we do that, and we try to seek out making sure that we talk to everybody. And even in our first retreat, we played with the idea of having a one-on-one, and we scheduled one-on-ones, which I loved. I think I would bring it back, but with more facilitators, which we'll tell you more about our next retreat, because we are bringing on another facilitator. But yeah, the energy management is key. Protecting your voice.
Oh, yes.
It's Friday, so I'm actually my voice is not as
Is voiced out.
yeah, my voice is voiced out. I mean, after teaching and podcasting earlier in the week too. So
Yeah.
it's a resource, you know.
Pack cough drops. Pack them for your co-teachers if you have them. Pack them for yourself. Cough drops and tea and hydration. And also in talking about energy management, I think when you're displacing yourself and you're in a new location and that you're doing this whole big new thing, it's also important to keep the rituals that you have at home and still do them in this new place. So like if every morning you have a coffee and you journal or you meditate, or even if it's something silly, you turn on music and you dance a little, whatever it is, do that. Yeah. Maintain your balance. And you also don't have to, I mean, yes, you want to connect with every single person at the retreat, but just remember you can also, that could be built into the itinerary, like with the one-on-ones, with dinners, communal dinners that you have with people, post workshops or whatever. If you're someone who really needs a lot of alone time to process and to get through, give that to yourself and make sure that you're taking the time to do that, because you need to show up as your most recharged self.
Yeah. The one for me is sleep. Like, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've got an Aura ring here, which unfortunately I was trying to ignore the sleep score because it was like 38. And I was like, oh no, God, don't look at it.
Are you okay?
Yeah. It'll be like, you're going to be fine. But, you know, you're at like 50% capacity. But I personally, like, I do these guided meditations from Pura Rasa, which, by the way, I had her on the podcast, so you can go back and listen to that interview. It was a really special one for me as well. But I literally use her guided meditations to fall asleep, you know, because you're just giving, you're teaching, and getting asleep. For me, just the energy of having everybody around, it's super overstimulating. I'm not going to lie to you. But I think that's part of the experience, and definitely part of the joy of it. But on the subject of itinerary, I think that's something that we wanted to talk about as well. And like visualizing, I think you said it, right? Visualizing. So that's something that you do and you help me with a lot, is doing that.
Visualization is so powerful, especially when, I mean, it applies throughout many areas of your life. Like when I tell people, or when I'm teaching them arm balances or inversions, I'm like, step one, visualize yourself in the pose, and it's going to make it easier to get there.
Yeah.
For the retreats, visualize yourself going through the itinerary as a guest and as a teacher day by day, and it'll illuminate any potential pain points or issues, and it'll just make it more obvious. So literally just close your eyes and walk yourself through it.
And you cannot control what people will say and what they will do. This is something that, to kind of pull as like a funny example from my prior life, one of my prior jobs was event planning for a wedding. And I still remember to this day that one of the bridesmaid speeches, and like this happens, right? Because we get up and we say things in front of a group, and sometimes you have no idea what's going to come out of people's mouths. But this one person got up to give a speech, and she started the speech at this wedding, and she was like, I don't remember the bride's name, but we'll just call her Amy. It's like, Amy has had a lot of ex-boyfriends.
Oh no.
And I remember we were all shocked, and we were like, oh my God. But you have to be prepared that if you don't set ground rules, right? If nobody like had said, like, don't talk about ex-boyfriends in the speech, then how are people going to know? And so you got to be, that's something that Natasha really helped us with. And I had Natasha in on an interview recently as well. You can look for that one, Natasha Schoon. But she helps set a lot of the ground rules for how we communicate, how we share, because inevitably we like to go deep in these retreats, but you can't just throw people into these deep topics and just see what happens. You know, I've been in that experience myself, and sometimes what comes up is extremely uncomfortable, and it can be a really difficult situation if you don't plan for it, you know, and set sort of expectations ahead of time.
Yes, definitely. Boundary and expectation setting for yourself, for your energy, and also for the guests. People like structure. So I think it's also nice to hear that. And and feel like you're being seen and respected as a guest.
It's a feeling of safety too. And I think that's our final point here. And then we'll get to just our wrap up sort of advice if you're looking to host, but making guests feel safe and welcome. I think at a bare minimum, beyond all of the fun surprise trips that, you do to go plant trees, or the beyond how, well you teach your classes or anything, making people feel safe and part of the group. That's why I write the handwritten notes and why I take like 2 hours to read through the pre-retreat survey and see, oh, this person says they want to be a little inspired in this area of their life. Like, I'm going to give them a quote and a note that, number one, restates what they've said to me so that they know that I've heard them, which it feels good to be heard, and also gives them already a little dose of something to feel like, I'm in the right place. I'm glad that you're here.
Yes.
And if you need anything, let me know. Even if you're just hungry,
it makes such
know.
a huge difference.
Yeah.
And also, we set up the group chats for each retreat group ahead of time. Even before the retreat has started, it helps people feel, like I said, they like structure. So giving them a chance to connect before the retreat, help align on transportation and expectations there, making your what to pack list so important. Again, as you're visualizing the itinerary, make sure that your packing list reflects all of the things that they need, medicine, anything that they need to feel comfortable, the right shoes. So itinerary ahead of time so they can visualize it themselves, the packing list, and giving them a chance to connect is incredibly important.
Yeah, and I know it's a lot of details and it's a lot kind of rapid fire, but hopefully this at least like brings to mind some of the things that we really recommend that, you keep your eye on and that you think about and take the time to do. So in terms of final takeaway and advice, I guess I'll ask this question to you. If, what would be your advice to listeners who are listening to this and they feel kind of like the nervous energy, like the excitement of maybe it's time, maybe I am going to host, or maybe I am going to kick off that project? What would you recommend? What would be your advice to them?
I would say take the first step. Don't sit with that energy. That is the magic energy. That's the seed. Take the first step, even if it's looking at different retreat centers, just Googling, where would you host it? It's sort of like you're actively vision boarding your plans. If you find a retreat center that speaks to you, contact them via email. Ask them what are their prices. Take those little steps towards the actuality of it. And it's very low risk, because if they respond to you, you get the information, you don't necessarily have to act on it, but now you have more information than you did before, and you are actually tangibly closer to doing the thing that you want to do. And that applies not just to retreats, but for every big idea or creative project that you have.
It does. Yeah, and I think it helps you like step into that power, like use the momentum to step up and actually ask and reach out to people. I mean, it's like you are the executive director of your future retreat. So own that, like go out, collect your information, see how it feels and go from there. I love that. Cool. So I think it's time to wrap up, and our next retreat we want to let you know. So if you want to come see all of this happen and how it goes down in person, we're going to be back at Rio Chiripo this February 17th through 22nd. So 5 nights this time. And we are also going to be joined by Ness Baker, who is better known by Inversioness on Instagram. I highly recommend if you're into working on inversions or handstanding or anything like that. She has really wonderful content, and it's going to be quite epic.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a really epic combo and collab between all 3 of us. And if you also want to support, but you're not able to join the retreat, we have our Ritual of Writing journal if you want to show the baby. So Katie and I wrote this journal together, and this was, I would say, probably one of the coolest projects of my life, at least. I don't know if you
I've
feel
loved
like
working on this.
Yeah.
Because really, with so much experience journaling and writing, I think we had a clear idea of what we wanted out of a journal.
Yeah.
And it's easy, again, and not sitting with the idea and doing nothing. It's easy to think, well, it's already been done a bunch of time, or it already exists, but you have such a unique element to yourself and your brand and your offering that it would be a disservice to not share that with the world.
Yes.
So no, it is not out there already. So go do it and leave your stamp out there.
Heck yes. Leave your stamp. Beautiful. Well, we always end with an emoji on Leadership and Yoga Podcast. What's your favorite emoji?
Oh my gosh. I like the little sun with the face.
Okay.
It's kind of cute, kind of creepy. I like me.
So, so leave the kind of cute, kind of creepy sun with the face. I know the one. Leave that in the comments section if you're listening on Spotify, or you can send it to me on Instagram at Shawna Krueger. And Katie, if you want to let folks know as well where they can find you.
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at Katie Williams Yoga, and I'll see you there.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Catch you in the next episode. Ciao, ciao. If you enjoyed this episode of the Leadership and Yoga Podcast, please take a moment to subscribe and also to drop me a rating. It's extremely helpful, and I'll catch you in the next episode.